Time kills deals. We've all heard this phrase. So if you're in the deal making business, you need to be ready to catch a deal when a referral source throws it your way and then quickly provide feedback. My upfront process has been a huge part of my success. And in this episode, I'm going to walk you through exactly what I do. You get the call or the email from a referral partner, or perhaps a borrower contacts you directly. A new potential deal is brewing and they need an SBA loan. It sounds like a fit. You send them the pre-approval checklist. I'll include mine in the show notes, but this is essentially a list of all the items needed to vet a deal. No more, no less. This process is all about striking the right balance. You have to know the deal and focus on what matters and avoid the inconsequential stuff. For example, if a deal cash flows, I'm not going to sit around and wait for projections. Okay, so you get the email with the attachments, or they drop it in your portal, or they send you a Dropbox link, whatever. I just hope they didn't snail mail it to you. Or worse, ask to drop it off in person. Does that still happen? Let me know in the comments. By the way, I forbid you from doing business with anyone who wants to mail you a physical package in 2022. So at this point, this potential deal becomes my top priority. Someone has decided to trust me with what may be the biggest transaction of that small business owner's life. This is huge. I will immediately acknowledge the email when I see it come through and then promise feedback within 24 hours or less, preferably same day. All right, now once I get into the deal, first thing I do is check the package for completion. If it's not what I consider a complete package based on my pre-approval checklist, I don't spend time on it. I ask for the missing documents. There's no point in me reviewing half of a package because I won't be able to provide meaningful feedback. And I don't mind letting them know that. I didn't ask for those other documents for my health. I actually need them, again, to provide meaningful feedback because I don't believe in half-ass feedback. So my upfront process from this point to issuing a proposal, if done right, is 3 days. So 3 days to determine if I can provide an adequate solution with a very high likelihood of execution. So hopefully they send you a full package so that you can review it in its entirety. And as you're reviewing it, you start to jot down your questions. Now, if you don't see it cash flowing or the guy has no money or whatever, just kill it right away. But if you see that there's a path forward, then set up a call for the next day. And I get the borrower and I also invite the referral source on the phone. But I'm mainly speaking to the borrower. And if you're not speaking directly to the borrower, it's to your own detriment. You need to hear the story straight from the horse's mouth because if that story changes halfway through the transaction, credibility is lost on all fronts. And this is especially important if the deal is coming from a new broker. I've made the mistake of talking to a broker about a deal that wasn't really a deal. Does the broker actually have control over the deal? Speaking directly to the borrower up front puts that issue to rest. Okay, so on this call, I do two things. I learn about the business and I make sure my product will meet the borrower's needs. It takes about 1 hour, and by the end of the call, I know where the equity injection is coming from, I know who the owners are, I understand their backgrounds, I know how the business makes money, I know their affiliates, how much they own, I've spread all those numbers, I understand all their sources of income, discussed any potential credit issues, I've done a full cash flow analysis, I've done a collateral analysis, I know the deal. From there, I'll spend several hours on what we call the BDO workbook, and I'll shoot it over to my credit team for a review. And so this all happens on day 2. Now, the key is to present it in a way that is digestible to your credit team. It addresses all their hot buttons and allows them to actually make a decision. And this takes time, but you have to get good at this. Like when you first join a shop, you have to get acclimated to their credit philosophy over there, and their hot buttons may not be the same hot buttons from your last shop. So treat each new deal as an opportunity to learn and get better. Take what you learned from that last deal and put it into the next deal. And before you know it, you'll get to a place where credit can provide you with meaningful feedback upon submission and say yes 9 out of 10 times. That's the end goal. And once you get there, you know you're locked in. My credit team will usually respond within 24 hours and I'll get a proposal out that day. So again, when done right, in about 3 days, I've done all of this. And to be able to provide that service to the market consistently is a value proposition in and of itself. Now this broker knows that they can call you, and within 3 days, they will know if this deal is going to work and what the structure will look like. And that's with buy-in from your credit team. Outstanding. And this all sounds pretty simple and straightforward. It's not rocket science, but there are BDOs out there taking weeks to do this, and they're losing out on deals as a result. And you're not going to get to this point overnight, particularly if you're starting out at a new shop. It might take 10 at-bats before you really gain your sea legs, but long term, you should know what a deal looks like at your bank and be disciplined enough to stick to a process. And quite frankly, be disciplined enough to say no to deals that don't fit, because you've heard this phrase too, and managers and credit people hate it when BDOs throw every deal up against the wall to see what sticks. When you're presenting a deal, you should believe in that deal. I like to think I'm a stakeholder in the decision-making process. It's not just me asking credit, hey, can we do this? If you can train your brain to think along those lines, you start positioning yourself more as an expert, both externally to the market as well as internally to your credit partners. And that's one of the main pillars of any BDO success.
All right, that's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode of The Art of SBA Lending. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, email me at ray@artofsba.com. Until next time, ta-ta.